What does your chief of staff do for you?
Well, it's pretty good. We talk about my memory of a goldfish. Like the other day, like I was in one-on-one with her and I was like, I'm getting managed here. Like, this is great. Like, this is really good. But like, I'm really good at like being at 60,000 feet and developing insights. I'm terrible at taking 60,000 feet stuff and bringing it down to 5,000 feet to where it could be implementable. And so a really good chief of staff for me is going to be somebody who, you know, to use Culture Index, is going to be low C, likes to have a lot of stuff going on, but is totally comfortable with taking that kind of, you know, when I walk in, I'm like, I don't know what I need, just make it good. And they kind of ask me some questions, try some stuff. I give them some feedback and they are comfortable translating that down into where the rubber hits the road. Like, that's super valuable. And then frankly, just there's processes that I know how to do that I have to get done, but like I should delegate those things, like running a small hiring process.
Yeah.
Those are things where it's like, okay, you go do this. So like the social media person we're hiring, like she's running that process.
Yep.
And we've agreed on here's how it's going to get done. And she'll present 1 or 2 candidates. We'll agree on them and then we'll go from there. And then she'll probably build a training plan for them as well.
Can you give an example of just like a real life example of something that you might conceptualize and that how it actually ends up getting done?
Yeah. So all that hand waving stuff I did about the social media stuff, she's re-architecting all of that. So I'm like, okay, this is where I think we need to go. We need to be, you know, becoming more email centric. We can't depend on Twitter anymore. We need to become omni-channel. We need to think about putting a calendar together. And so she took that kind of level. That's the level of direction I gave her, by the way. That's why I'm such a great manager. That's fantastic.
You sound identical. I don't even know if I would have given that much detail. So a lot of this is for me right now.
Well, it's funny. One of the CEOs, you know, that I work with, he's like, okay, Girdley, stop philosophizing on me, because that's the type of Culture Index profile. It's like, I need some detail here. You got to tell me exactly what you want. I was like, yeah, just give me a financial statement that looks good. Like, I don't know why this is hard. Just give me this format right here. Just do this. Something looks like this. And anyway, so, but yeah, that would be exactly a project she's doing at this point, where it's like, okay, translate this down into some actual activities of how my website changes, how my production flow changes, all that kind of stuff.
And then does she come back to you with like a plan, or she's just off to the races to do it? And how do you play a role? We were talking about this at lunch. I'm really good at giving you the high level, me thinking you heard what I thought you heard. And then once the product's done, being like, no, we got to change this, and this. And that other person can often get really frustrated going, well, it would have been nice to know that up front. And on my head, I'm thinking, I thought I told you everything and you agreed to it. So I guess my question is, once you've given that to her and it's her project, does she come back to you with like a write-up of how the project's going to go? Or how do you kind of make sure she's doing what you actually thought you told her to do?
Yeah. So we, you know, habits as well. So one-on-one chats, like there's a good habit there. There's weekly one-on-ones. And so she'll bring those up and then we revisit them. But like this morning we had a call before you and I met for lunch, and I was like, okay, well, she had taken the 60,000 foot thing and was kind of confused. So asked me, hey, I'm kind of confused about what the next steps are. So let's have a call. So we got on the call and we pulled up what she had kind of produced so far. And I was like, okay, well, why don't you take this and translate it into a plan? And then when you get to kind of a stopping point or where you're confused, like, let's talk again. And then at each point, I said, when you kind of have one way or big decisions to make, like, let's stop and have a check-in.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, I've learned the same way. I can't just be like, yeah, just go make that awesome. And then you disappear. Like, I have to stay part of that process. And that's part of us like getting to know each other and her being like, yeah, okay, like this is where Michael's weak, because frankly, that's a weakness. Like every strength has a weakness, and she'll come back to me and be like, okay, like that's where I felt like I was getting managed, because she's intuiting what she needs to make me successful and her successful.
What was there a certain moment, or was it just kind of continuing to mature where you realized this was your role in business and it wasn't in the business any longer? It was going. Or did you take tests and that's what the test told you? Like, when did you kind of get the clarity that this is where I sit in the world?
Yeah. Well, I was, fortunately, I feel like I can talk about small business CEOing because I was small business CEO twice for, over a decade. And, there was this kind of pivotal moment where like I went away on vacation and like came back 4 weeks later and like everything was running better than like when I had left. And I was like, you know what? I may suck at some stuff. And over time, that idea and that level of humility like gets reinforced because you try things and they don't work, or in my case, like you buy into kind of the personality assessment, culture index or predictive index type stuff, and they're like, yeah, you're a flawed and perfect human being all at once. Like accept that and lean into your perfections and hate on your flaws and let somebody else take care of them.
Yeah.
And understanding that I think has been, eye-opening for me. I don't, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that think they can do everything.
Yeah.
I suck at a lot of stuff. I'm really bad.
Oh, me too.
Really bad.